Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy Jonathan Macri with you for another episode, a special Memorial Day weekend episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. This is so weird not talking into a mic, Andrew.
Oh, I know. I can't relate because I have a mic and it works, but it is kind of weird. Also, good to be back.
Let's just tell the story. Jeremy Cohen is with us, of course. Hello, Jeremy.
Hey, here with a mic. How are you?
Fuck you. It's a little too early for an F-bomb in the episode. Andrew, keep that in, though. It's Memorial Day.
You think I'm going to cut out that's John? Don't worry. I won't.
So Andrew Claudio being just an extraordinary human being as he's dealing with personal trials and tribulations, which I don't know if he wants to get into.
I had COVID this week, guys.
Okay,
I'm at the tail end of it. I'm fighting. I'm like, it's really more of an energy thing at this point, but I'm okay. Ro got it much worse, but it hit our household, and now my sleep schedule is when I'm tired, I sleep.
Even with that, and planning a wedding, and producing multiple podcasts, and just being a general good guy, there's a lot to do. He found time to, if you're watching on the YouTube, send this to me in the mail. This is what do you call this?
A flag.
Is that what it is, really?
Yeah, it's a mic flag. So for those who have ever watched like the news, and you'll see like for SNY, when Ian Begley's doing his stand-up shots from a arena or something, he'll have a microphone and you'll see a blue SNY like square thing around the microphone. That's called a mic flag. And you probably have seen that in the last couple of weeks, I had one on my microphone because I wanted to see what the angle is. For those on YouTube that see it, if you want to go to the Final Review YouTube channel, there's a second side of my flag that has Final Review logos on it. Shout out to one of our contributing graphic designers, Lori Claudio, my mother, who created this for me and then created one for John and Jeremy as well.
Which you sent to me, and I attempted to put on my microphone before we started recording, which required me to unplug, what do you call it? A mini US, whatever. It doesn't matter.
The cord that goes into the bottom of John's mic broke.
And then when I went to go plug it back in, it stopped working. So this is me without a mic. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, Andrew. Sorry, Jeremy.
Kind of sounds like you're blaming Lori for
my mom.
Mic not working. And we respect mothers on this podcast, John. So choose your words carefully, please.
It's all your fault, Mom. Patron Lori Claudio of the Knicks Film School Podcast.
Lori, all lies. I've never met you in person, but I love you. I look forward to meeting you at Andrew's wedding in about a year. Anyway, how you doing, guys?
Jeremy?
Doing all right. We're going to take a small, quick break from Cap or No Cap. Be back at it next week.
Yes.
And should probably also mention this is Friday before Memorial Day weekend. We've got plans and things we want to do. So wanted to get this episode out there. So doing all right otherwise. Excited.
Before we do today's exercise, which I'll explain in a second, on a scale of what, DEFCON 1 to DEFCON 5, which is the worst, DEFCON 1?
Yes, right?
Yeah.
I
think 5 is, yes.
Yeah. So on a scale of DEFCON 5 to DEFCON 1, how worried are you? Let's pretend we all desperately want Jalen Brunson on the Knicks next year. How worried are you that Cuban, after the Mavs were eliminated last night, as we're recording this, we're putting it on Friday, said we could pay him the most money, said that out loud. And then today, the GM of the team basically said some more comments like, we're going to have competition for him, but we want him back. We believe he wants to be back. Like, basically, they're talking as if he's going to be back. Jeremy, DEFCON 1 to DEFCON 5, how much do you put into those comments?
I'll say 3, because what else are they going to say?
That's fair.
Like, they were just laying out what their leverage is. Their leverage is that they can offer a 5th year. They can offer 8% raises over 5%. They have to essentially, like, they could just re-sign him using bird rights versus another team potentially having to clear some cap space in order to get him. Like, to me, when I was watching what Cuban's interview and how he came off, it just felt like, boilerplate jargon of, this is what we've got here. We want him back. It seems like he wants to be back. It didn't tell me anything new. And I don't think we're going to see anything new unless there are these reports. And, we'll talk about this more later, but the one thing I'll say leading up to it, Woj talking about cap space and how the Knicks don't have it, so they're out. And it's just gross. It's gross because if anyone should know about the dynamics of how easily things can move in the market, it should be Adrian Wojnarowski. And so for him to say that, it's just, I don't know. He must be absolutely yoked from all the water he's carrying.
Ooh. Wow.
Yeah. No, listen, jokes aside, why else would he?
Someone's not going after Mike Schmidt's job at ESPN, I guess.
I'll leave that for Chris Persianen, but.
Ooh.
ESPN, you heard it here first. Chris Persianen's available for hire.
Well, we'll create a bidding war, though, if you'd like.
True.
And then,
we have Chris's bird rights.
Yeah, you have to buy him from us. Okay.
Chris the Max guy.
Our property.
No, he's just under contract with us. Is all.
I think Chris is more like a mid-level exception.
Fine, you still have to trade for him. We'll take Malika Andrews.
I was about to say we got.
And she could do our post games going forward.
So we're throwing John into the package as well. Then
it's a 2-for-1.
I think so.
I am the.
I promised their mic. I'm promised their mics will work.
Is John essentially Patrick Ewing in the year 2000?
Basically,
where it's like,
and we're getting
outgoing salary.
Glenn Rice and Michael.
No, hold on. Who's the biggest salary filler? I should know this. Who's the biggest salary filler that's ever like strictly for salary filler in an NBA deal? I'm trying to think.
Well, Russ made probably the most before being Russ and John Wall.
John Wall was salary filler, so I'm John Wall in this scenario. I can still play. ESPN's going to tell me to go sit on the sidelines.
I was going to say,
we'll just wait until your contract runs out, and then you're free to go.
Man, you guys don't know what you're missing, ESPN. Really, seriously.
We're missing Malika, but we'll have her, so it'll be great.
Everybody's happy except me.
You get to work for ESPN.
I get to get paid by ESPN. It's
not a bad gig.
Not a bad gig. That's enough of this. I'm like this DEFCON 4. I don't pay any attention to it. It's ultimately, I think this is a Jalen Brunson decision, which we will get into soon on a cap or no cap coming to a podcast near you. In the meantime, we're going to have a little fun today. So the Knicks, as you may have heard, got the 11th pick in the NBA draft. Hooray. So some people may not know a lot about the history of the 11th pick. It's not a top 10 pick. It's indeed the first pick outside the top 10. So we're going to try to, in a fun and creative way, inform folks about the history of the 11th pick and the fact that you can get a pretty good player at 11 if you know what you're doing, which hopefully the Knicks do. And we are going to have a draft between the three of us, Andrew, myself, Jeremy, in which we pick 5-man teams composed of only players who have been picked with the 11th pick throughout NBA history. Can I ask you rule clarification?
Sure, go ahead.
Are we making actual basketball teams that make sense, or are we just picking the best 5 guys?
Best 5 guys.
Okay. That's what I thought. I think in the spirit of this exercise, that makes the most sense.
I agree.
How are we determining who gets the first pick?
We do the card game, and hold on a second. This is all going to get cut. I'm going to go get my card. So we're going to do our draft order for the 11th pick draft. For those of you that don't join us for our Patreon, when we do these drafts and select the draft order, first of all, sign up for our Knicks Film School Patreon. We have we're up to 47 extra episodes that you can enjoy on the channel. John and I have been doing these reactions to playoff games. At the time of recording, we haven't recorded it yet, but you will get our reaction to the end, or what I think would be the end of the Eastern Conference Finals, regardless of when that is. But what we do for the draft order is I have a deck of cards, and we will do a high card draw for every single person that is in the draft order. And literally in order of highest card to lowest card will be 1, 2, and 3. John, age of 4 beauty. So your card is, hey, I'm going to hold it up for everybody. Your card is an 8. All right.
I'll take it.
All right. And then Jeremy. Oh, it's mine. I'm the second one. Age Before Beauty. That's right. Okay. Next up. Okay. My pick is the 4. Great. All right, Jeremy. Let's see what you got here. Jeremy's card is, as I shuffle. Okay, Jeremy, your card is the King. Jeremy gets the first pick.
King of the castle.
I'm actually happy about that. I was going to be left with a tough decision that I don't have to make now.
So I promise no collusion. Because of the guys that I'm targeting in my cheat sheet here, I actually was kind of hoping for the 3rd pick because we're going snake. So we're going back to back. So like 3 gets back to back, 1 gets back to back, and so on and so forth.
I look forward to. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So Jeremy, with the first pick in the first ever draft, because I think if this works, we can just kind of do this all summer. And hello, content. Jeremy, the first pick in the 11th pick draft is
first pick in the 11 pick draft. I got to go with number 11 in 2011, Klay Thompson.
Klay Thompson. Damn it.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Did you think he was going to fall to you, Andrew?
Yes, because I did. There are 2 Hall of Famers ahead of him. There are 2 Hall of Famers on the list. I figured those 2 would end up going 1 and 2, and then I could take my Warrior. But oh well.
No, I'm going with Klay. Yeah, obviously pre-injury, one of the greatest shooters of all time. Still one of the greatest shooters of all time. Taking him with ease, not even giving it a second thought.
Yep. I potentially about to be a 4-time NBA champion.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Hopefully.
I mean, yes. Granted, the other conference can kick rocks, so I'm with you. Yes. What are you thinking, John?
Well, no, I'm still processing you actually thinking that you had a chance of getting Klay Thompson.
I mean, this is why I didn't know who. I know John's sensibilities with drafting. I've only drafted with Jeremy once. I didn't know the direction you were going to go.
That's fair. You were hopeful. That's great. It's good to be hopeful.
Well, it was admittedly between Klay and Bonzi Wells. So
obvious, man, you're ruining my draft.
I was about to say, don't throw out names. Come on. No more of that. Okay.
Wasn't actually going to pick Bonzi.
To me, you don't say.
We may end up at the end of this draft looking for straws here. So.
No, because I mean, look, I'm taking Reggie Miller, and full disclosure, I would have taken Reggie Miller first. Although I think there was at least an argument about Klay versus Reggie because my own 2 cents about Reggie, and look, I'm for anybody who doesn't know, I'm a Knicks fan. I hate Reggie Miller. He's my least favorite player in NBA history. He's the Antichrist.
Jeez. Still a superstar though, right?
But yeah, he is. And that's because I witnessed him break my heart. I not witnessed him my heart broke many times because of Reggie Miller. And I watched him in many other contexts in which he did a lot of things and scored a lot of points. I mean, this is more in the context of like our drafts with Oz and Yash over the summer, Andrew, but like, where do advanced stats come into this? And the fact that Reggie Miller has basically twice as many win shares in NBA history as the next highest 11th pick. Mm-hmm. He statistically, it's not a case. That being said, Klay Thompson, if you want to tell me that Klay Thompson's peak is higher than Reggie Miller's peak, I'll hear that argument. I don't know if I agree with it, but I'll at least hear the argument. And then obviously you have championships and the whole thing. And that's all like last 5 or fourth quarter of a big game. Would you rather have Reggie or rather have Klay? It's kind of, but anyway, so I'm taking Reggie and I won't say anything else until after Andrew picks.
So, I mean, look, if you've listened to our Patreons, our Patreon episodes, and have heard my admiration for the Golden State Warriors, my standing for Klay, and how I think when we did the 2-man draft, John, where we went around the league and drafted 2 players at a time, my first or second pick was Stephen Klay. And it was like, if Klay's healthy, that changes everything.
That sounds right.
Yeah. So I was hopeful that maybe one of you would go with the Hall of Famer who made All NBA in 1985. I'm pretty sure 2-time NBA champion, Ralph Sampson, as the number one of the first 2 picks, but I'll take Sampson with the 3rd pick. The actual person I would take with my personal first is who I will take 4th with my other pick. But I'll get to him in a second. Ralph Sampson, his first 3 years, 21 a game, 22 a game, 18 a game, 21 and 11, 22 and 10, 18 and 11. And then obviously found a role on the Celtics in the 80s.
Hold on. Ralph Sampson?
I think I'm looking at Ralph Sampson. Yeah, Ralph Sampson Jr.
No, that's Ralph Simpson.
What did I say?
Ralph Sampson.
Oh my God!
Thing, isn't it? Ralph Sampson
was one of the most ballyhooed first picks of all time and led the Houston Rockets to the finals. He was the first pick in the draft, my friend.
Ralph Simpson was in 1972.
You did a thing. Are we leaving this in?
John, it kind of sounds like Andrew has picked Ralph Simpson.
I can't. He's not eligible.
Ralph Simpson was taken in 1972.
Right, but I've never said the name Ralph Simpson.
You just did. Draft. There you go.
God, Jeremy. No, okay.
You said Ralph Simpson in this draft.
All right, what are we gonna...
You can't. I didn't take Ralph Simpson. I took Ralph Sampson, who's not eligible. That breaks my heart. When I looked at the cheap, she's like, "Oh, Ralph Sampson."
As a character in the animated television show The Simpsons, I think your pick may have been very. It would have fit right in.
Yeah. Okay. Did Homer marry Ralph?
I deserve all this. Keep it coming.
I mean, well, no, that was Ralph Wiggum, but in spirit, I think it's Ralph.
It's not my pick. Like I deserve the ridicule.
We'll give you the pick. We'll give you the pick back.
Mm-hmm. But
that's why when you were like Hall of Fame, I thought you were going in a different direction with Hall of Famer. But because there is another Hall of Famer that was taking the pick.
I think I'm gonna triple check my research now. Wow. So that's not who I thought it was. Wow.
No, it's not.
That changes everything.
Shout out to Ralph Sampson, who had a fantastic collegiate career, and then made the All-Star team in his first 4 seasons as a pro before injuries got the better of things. Jeremy,
Andrew, who's your 3rd pick?
Allen Houston.
All right,
that's who I'm going with. That's the first pick because he's my favorite Knick ever.
Is he really? I didn't know that.
Yes, the same way that like Spreewell's your favorite Knick ever. Yeah. Houston's my favorite Knick ever. The first ever time I emoted as a Knicks fan was that running jumper against the Heat, which is why that in my old den when I was back at my parents' place, there was a poster of that running jumper, which is somewhere in storage. And whenever we buy a house, it will get posted back up. But yeah, then the contract, I think gives him a bad reputation because people look at the contract like, oh, he's a waste of a contract. That's all I think of him as. And it's like,
I know.
Blame him for taking Scott Layden's money. Like he was also like really good the first 2 years and then he got hurt.
It's interesting. I think the conversation you're having or the talking point you're making right now is for me far more interesting for Stoudemire because like Houston gave us great playoff moments, gave us a finals run, gave us 2 all-star appearances, like gave us a lot of stuff. And then after all that, the contract happened. And yet he's still like on like leaderboards for points and this and that, 3-point percentage, 3-pointers made, the whole thing. Like Stoudemire gave us a half a year. But in any case, it's a valid thing.
Quite literally a half a year. And Allen Houston in the only finals run where as a Knicks fan, I got to enjoy because I was not following basketball in 1994. Had 32 points in game 6 against the Pacers and a 90-82 win against the Pacers. He shot 12 for 17 in that game to clinch the Eastern Conference title. And then the Knicks' only win of their series against the Spurs, he had 34 points. Allen Houston, that's the sweet stroke of his jump shot, I think would age very well today. And I mean, you took Klay Thompson. There's a lot of Allen Houston in Klay Thompson's game. So I'll start there with Allen Houston. And then I got to make sure I don't take somebody that was accidentally a lottery, a number one pick overall.
Do you want to take, I'm trying to think of something.
Michael Jordan is not eligible.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
No, not eligible.
If you add an extra one, it's the 11th pick.
You want to take Gary Trent Jr.?
I did notice that there's a Gary Trent that was taken with the 11th pick and also drafted in 1995. So his son is in the NBA, but he was drafted. Like, that just let me know how old we are. That Gary Trent was in 95, and I was like watching basketball in 95.
There's some like odd statistical or some not statistical quirks, but like in regard to like trades that happen between between Gary Trent and Gary Trent Jr. Okay, you need to make another pick.
I will go with a guy that from 1982 to 1987 averaged 26 a game on 54% shooting for Denver and Portland. I will go with Kiki Vanderway with my second pick. Surprisingly, with like multiple years averaging at least 20 a game, 26 a game. So in order, 26, 29, 22, 24, and 27 is what Kiki Vanderway averaged in the 80s with the rise of the NBA and faster paced basketball. This guy 1 year, on one attempt a game, shot 48% from three. But that led the league that year because, again, one attempt from three. One of the better pure scorers, only made 2 all-star teams, but for the 11th pick, I think he's toward the top. So Kiki Vanderway would be my second pick.
Okay.
Kiki, do you love me?
What is that?
That's a Drake song. It took me a second, but that's a Drake song.
Oh, it's he's the gentleman.
John, you could say literally anything right now. It won't be as embarrassing as the draft I've had.
He's the one in the cube, the multicolored cube.
Yeah.
Yes. Hotline Bling. Okay. Maybe I was wrong.
I think you're going to say, it's Degrassi actor.
That actually would have been better than the one in the cube. Arguably the biggest rapper alive right now.
Is he really?
Tupac's still with us, but yeah.
Nah, touche, Jeremy, touche.
All right. I'm really happy you went with Kiki because he is a guy who put up a lot of numbers and won
nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Leaving for me a not one, not two, not three, 4-time NBA champion, although the last one of those championships came when he was already kind of a bit player on the 1984-85 Los Angeles Lakers, but we won't hold that against him. Jamal Wilkes. So Jamal Wilkes was the 11th overall pick in the draft in 1974. Despite being the 11th overall pick, he went on to win Rookie of the Year and help his Golden State Warriors win the NBA championship in his rookie season. Spent some good years in Golden State, made an all-star team in his second year there. But after his third season, ended up with the Lakers, which is where he spent the rest of his career. Actually, no, sorry, not the rest of his career. He finished off with the Clippers, but spent the next 8 years of his career winning 3 championships, making 2 more all-star teams. And, Jamal Wilkes is not a guy who's was ever in consideration for one of the top 10 or probably even top 15 players in the sport. But he finished 10th in MVP voting 1 year. He made a couple of defensive teams. Just a really solid player. He was an instrumental player in those early Lakers teams, the first half of the decade before they kind of transitioned to what became the second half. Jamal Wilkes, Rookie of the Year, by the way, in a year in which Bill Walton was drafted. It's not bad.
So here's the draft I'm having right now, guys. The cheat sheet that I sent you guys, the shout out to Basketball Insiders, they did a history of the 11th pick, said Keith Wilkes was the 1974 first pick. Had no idea that was actually Jamal Keith Wilkes, and didn't even look up Jamal Wilkes. I had no idea he was even eligible, and just rewatched a whole bunch of games of the 80s Lakers and watched Winning Time. So good pick, John. Probably the correct pick.
Yes, although I should say Jamal Wilkes, not the best player drafted in the 1974 NBA draft. Bill Walton aside, George Gervin, 40th pick in that draft, but of course did not go and play in the NBA right away because he was playing the old ABA. So anyway, that's my pick. So I'm starting off with Reggie Miller, Jamal Wilkes. I like this.
This is a very John draft so far.
It is.
What John draft? It's a good draft.
All we're missing on our bingo card is the guy who was drafted 11th overall in 1954.
Yep. He's going to start pulling those out at the end of the draft.
This player in 1957 recorded the first single double.
You know what? I'm good. Now I'm going to go and find the guy who was drafted in 1954.
Please
continue on your merry way.
Because you you don't have a cheat sheet of every territorial 11th pick right there in front of you.
Just continue with your business.
Jeremy, you give 2 picks. Go ahead.
This man was the only good player in the Pacific Northwest in 1947.
Why do you sound like Morgan Freeman?
Definitely did not. I was going for more of a 50s announcer voice, even though I said 40s.
You know. Oh, so okay. Like you're announcing the game, the championship game in a league of their own. That guy.
Pretty much.
There you go. All right.
I will not be selecting the player who's drafted 11th overall in 1954 because he never played an NBA game. So,
Sounds like a prime opportunity. There's a lot of untapped potential with that player then.
With Bob Maddock? Yes, there is. Okay,
exactly.
Please.
Jeremy,
so I got the next 2. Perfect. So I'm going to roll with Domantas Sabonis.
Wow. Okay.
I got to be honest, Jeremy, I just was talking to Oz and I told him like Sabonis might be one of the 8 best 11 picks ever when you really look at it. That's not a bad pick at all. Yeah,
he really might be. I mean, 2-time All-Star, consistent pretty much, or just about like 20, 10, 5 guy. Kind of like Julius Randle, by the way. The great Julius Randle, possibly the best 7th overall pick in history. If any teams listen to this, is great. Take him.
Please trade for him.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, he's an incredible passing big man. It'll be really interesting to see how he works at the 5 now that the Kings are kind of utilizing him in that role. He's got star in his DNA. His father was fantastic. Wish he had played more in the NBA than he did, but still, possibly after Jokic, the best passing big man. Is that something you might be able to agree on?
Dad, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I got to go with him as my second one. And then my third, you're going to see this is starting to trend towards the generation. Like you can clearly identify that I am a younger person than the 2 of you.
How can you say younger person with air quotes as if it's like...
I didn't use air quotes. I just moved my hand. I didn't go like younger person.
Just make your fucking...
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I told you.
Predictable.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was. And you know why? Because SGA is really damn good. And it's a shame that he has not been able to play at the end of the season the last 2 years and go the distance and get the All-NBA vote. Well, he wouldn't quite be in that category yet, but he's still so good and so promising that I can't let him go. I just simply can't. And I'm rolling out SGA, Klay Thompson, and Domantas Sabonis. I feel good.
Oh, well, we said it's not based on like you're not building a team, but
I know that.
As far as like best talent available, it's funny you're drafting by your era, and yes. John has 2 dudes from the 80s, and I'm all over the place with my draft. I'm wondering if that's going to be a trend that continues now when John has the next pick.
I'm thinking of SGA. He's good. He's a good basketball player.
Would you trade RJ for him?
I was about to say 11. No, they're not. RJ.
Why do you hate RJ?
11, a future unprotected Knicks first. And quickly and Fournier probably doesn't get the salary done. Yeah, yes or no?
I mean, no.
Okay.
But
no, you don't do that, or no, they don't do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Who's
John,
up?
No,
Me, how about you?
they don't. I would do it. Actually, the Thunder are not going to take it.
Yeah.
He's that good.
You're trading like
I don't know. It depends on the future Knicks.
You're trading 60 cents for $1 there.
Exactly. 5 years of team control. 5.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's a lot of team control. Okay. I have a couple ways I could go here. It's going to be an old guy. Spoiler alert. Because here's the thing. I think this actually, with this pick coming, like there's some chalk picks here. There's some guys who were like established, either all-star or very near all-star talent, not in the 50s or 60s, but like in the 80s or 90s, that are available here. And then there's a guy who was never in serious conversation for an all-star team. But outside of a bunch of guys who played for the Celtics in the 50s and 60s, won more NBA championships than any player in the history of basketball. And the guy I'm talking about, of course, is Robert Horry. And that's going to be my pick here. Robert Horry, you don't get the name Big Shot Rob without good reason. He won championships, 2 championships, obviously, with the Houston Rockets when he was a rookie. Or actually, no, that was his second year. I should know this.
Yes, second and third year.
Second and third year. Okay. And then he went over to Los Angeles and was part of their three-peat, and then had a final act of his career when he was with the Spurs and won championships in 2005 and 2007. I think is Robert Horry a Hall of Famer discussion is probably overblown. He's not a Hall of Famer. He was never a Hall of Famer. And again, there are Hall of Famers on the board here. I'm just acknowledging that. And I am bypassing those guys for a player that, like, I think especially today, we do all of these like trade things and draft things. And we're always talking about like who can be part of a championship core. Robert Horry, any era, any style of play, anything you want to throw at him, that dude could be on the court for 30 minutes a night. You wouldn't have to worry about him on either end of the court. He'd give you big shots. He'd give you everything you could possibly want. I know he never averaged more than 12 points a game. I don't care. Robert Horry is my pick.
Okay. Damn.
Did you want Horry?
Yeah, a little bit.
That's okay.
Well done, John. Wow, my whole get the third pick strategy backfired significantly.
Why would you celebrate it? I was like,
I thought Ralph Sampson was really great when he helped the Celtics at center. Okay. I will start with, let me see. Is this guy a Hall of Famer? I think he's no. Did Clifford Robinson ever make the Hall of Fame?
Clifford Robinson?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think so.
Hold on. Oh man.
Did I do it again?
I don't know how to handle this. No. So
he's the 9th pick, second round 9th pick. Did I do this?
No. So hold on. Neither Cliff Robinson nor Clifford Robinson made the Hall of Fame. I just want you to know that those are 2 different people. I knew you were going with this. And look, Cliff Robinson was a very good basketball player. So you may want to take him with this selection, and that's fine.
So the guy that played for the Nets, that drafted by the Nets in 1979, is not the guy that played for the Blazers throughout
He is not the same person as that other gentleman. No.
Okay. All this is getting cut.
No!
It's staying in here.
No! This is part of the thing now.
Okay.
It is here. We are here.
These are your NBA capitals, Andrew. We can't cut this.
What's
the capital of Italy?
All right. I'm going to just kind of go rogue here because I clearly... my research is I'm shook. I'm completely off my game. And I'm going to go JJ Redick with my first, or my third pick.
Love
because I love his podcast.
Great pod.
And there are no other
like super
players than
informative.
JJ Redick.
Yeah, listen, I have no other. None of them at least take it 11th. At least unless there's one in the 50s. James
Redick. Johnson Redick.
Jonas Johansson Redick.
42% 3-point shooter for his career, by the way, JJ Redick, as well as a 55% effective field goal percentage. One could argue should have been the second or third best player on a couple teams that made conference finals if Chris Paul didn't decide to let Josh Smith come back on him. And then if, a ball bounces a different way from when Kawhi took that game winner, he would have been on the Sixers team that potentially won a title. All that to say, JJ Redick, old man in the 3 and in my third pick. And then I believe that there's only
out with it.
Listen, man, I don't even know like who else is. I'm accidentally gonna take somebody that was like drafted 3rd. I think. Look, I'm just gonna take Michael Carter Williams because I think he's the only other person on this list that's won an award. So wow. Michael Carter Williams will be my other pick.
I thought you were gonna take Gus Johnson. Honeycomb Johnson, thinking that maybe it was the same guy who does
broadcaster.
The broadcaster.
Yes. I'll just listen, he won an award. When we do when we put the poll out for people to vote for this, I'm praying nobody actually listened. I'm praying that they're just voting rogue, and then they'll be like, "Oh, Claudio's got like a rookie of the year. I get it. JJ Redick, solid career," and not realizing I tried to take people that just weren't even eligible or even the same person that I thought they were. So yeah, JJ Redick and Michael Carter Williams will be my 2 picks.
Okay, well, is it me again?
Yes,
it is you.
It is me. Okay. This is good because a couple of guys that I was thinking about in the last round are still available, as is Cole Aldridge. It was not someone I was thinking about in the last round.
He'll be there. He's on the board.
He's on the board. Cole Aldridge still on the board. Okay, I'm gonna go with the heart here. There are a few things that I hold in my heart with true conviction. One of them is that had, I don't know, Hakeem Olajuwon's reaction timing been 5% less than it was, or maybe he was missing a fingertip or two.
I know you're
or maybe good old Johnny decides to go 6 for 18 as opposed to 2 for 18. I will always believe that this man deserved to win the Finals MVP award in 1994, and that is no shade on Patrick Ewing, but I mean, listen, Derek Harper was the best player in those finals. He was only on the Knicks for a couple of years, but it left an indelible imprint on me. And that was towards the tail end of his career, because for a decade before that, he was a player on the Dallas Mavericks who was, again, never an all-star. Made, I think, a couple all defense teams. Yeah, made a couple all defense teams. Topped out, again, not a big numbers guy, but at the same time, like better numbers than you think, better numbers than you remember him for. I mean, he averaged nearly 20 points a game one year, a couple other years around 18, 17. Derek Harper, he's my guy. Really like him. And that's who I'm taking.
It's a good choice because I was going to take Harp.
I'm happy that I stole him from.
It's okay. I stole Klay Thompson from Andrew.
You stole mine. Well, yes, from Andrew.
2 players who don't. Anyways,
I thought that was David Harbour, the guy from Stranger Things. I didn't even select him. I didn't even write him down because I didn't think he was eligible. So bad job by me.
Harper, I barely knew her.
Nah, God. I thought that was Ron Harper that was on the list. Oops. Okay. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Tough beat.
Was it Lee Harper? Harper Lee?
Harper Lee?
I thought it was Harper Lee.
Is that
one of the greatest books of all time? Her wins above replacement. It's all great. I get 2 picks.
You do.
Yes.
Your last 2 picks.
Your
right?
last 2 picks.
These are my last 2. Yeah. And I feel like you guys have done a pretty solid job. All of us. We've kind of cleaned up.
No, we haven't. Not all of us.
Well, most of us have done a really solid job here.
At least 2/3 of us have done
very solid jobs.
Solid jobs. So I shift towards the younger generation naturally, but just looking at a lot of these players who are on the board in the 2000s and the 90s, the 80s, maybe it's just because I'm living to see it. Maybe it's being a prisoner of the moment, but I mean, I feel like I kind of have to take Miles Turner here.
Wow.
James Bouknight didn't do it for you?
No, he did not qualify. Thanks to
Devin Vassell.
He's good.
Dang, Jeremy, you should have took Reggie Miller. You'd have Pacers all over your team.
Yeah, I should have. I'm glad I didn't. 2 is enough. And one of them doesn't even play for them
anymore, but
yeah,
you'd have Pacers draft picks is my point.
I would. Well, hey, they've done a really great job over the years of picking outside of the top 10, and it certainly has shown. With Miles Turner, I mean, he's 2-time block champion, all rookie member. Doesn't do a whole ton outside of that. Like if we were making a team of 5 where we're trying to think of best talent and fit and whatnot, might go another direction since I have Sabonis, but we're not doing that. We're just grabbing the best talent that seems to be on the board. And he has his flaws and his warts and he gets hurt frequently. And I don't really want him on the Knicks anymore for reasons stated otherwise in previous podcasts, but I feel like he's probably got to be my pick here. So I'm going with Miles Turner here.
I mean, you're sticking to the bit. So
I am. But I think the last one, and listen, if I miss out on someone and I should have taken them, then I'll wear it. I'll wear the shame. But I'm actually going to go back in time. And for my 5th player, I'm going to go with John Sally.
Oh,
bad boy. There you go.
Okay.
4-time NBA champ, but an integral piece of the Bad Boys Pistons. I just, looking at my collection of players, I need someone, A, from out of this era, and B, who is like, if we're talking about Robert Horry in the way that John, you were talking about him, I feel like John Sally, not quite the player, at least in terms of like big shots. Like there's not a big shot Sally or a big block Sally, but
big block Sally.
But enough where he deserves a spot in the final one of my 5. So I'm taking John Sally.
I forgot he was on the 96 Bulls.
Came out of retirement for it.
Yeah,
for the Lakers one, excuse me.
The Lakers when he came out of retirement. Yeah, but
Bulls one, he was there.
11 minutes a game. Jeez.
Not a huge,
not on neither of those teams, but regardless,
got the job done.
He gets to put 4-time champ on his resume. Yeah. Okay. Jeremy's team is complete. John, your last pick.
Okay. The chalk pick here, ironically enough, is a guy I said before, is Gus Johnson. So Gus Johnson drafted 11th overall in 1963. I'm throwing you a bone here, Andrew, if you want to take this guy.
I already have my pick written down.
Oh, well, okay. So let me give a shout out to Gus Johnson because he's undoubtedly going to be the best player not drafted. NBA Hall of Famer, 5-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA second teamer, 2-time All-Defense. He was on the late 60s and early 70s Baltimore Bullets squads. Like just one of those like really, really good players that's just absolutely lost the time. I'm not taking him because I'll be very honest. I forgot Gus Johnson existed before I started researching for this exercise, even though I'd come across the name before. Also going to give a shout out to, I can't believe I'm giving shout outs to people who have been dead for many, many years. Vern Mickelson, he of the Minneapolis Lakers and Hamline University, which I just had to look up, a private liberal arts college in St. Paul, Minnesota. Yes, Vern Mickelson played in the days when those folk made their way into the NBA. But another Hall of Famer, 6-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA, and 4-time NBA champion with the Minneapolis Lakers. Not picking him either. I'm going Kevin Willis. Kevin Willis is a guy that like I remember watching. I remember being a guy who was like, that dude's not a great player, but he's pretty good. I think he made one All-Star team. I believe he maybe even made an All-NBA team. No, never made an All-NBA. Oh yeah, no, he did make an All-NBA team. Won a championship later in his career with San Antonio. He won a championship.
He's on the roster of a team that won a championship. Yes.
No, but from I'll give it to you right now. His heyday was with the Atlanta Hawks, and for a solid 6-year stretch, he was good for like 16 or 17 and 11. Efficient player. Like he was a very integral part of those good but not great Hawks teams.
Yes.
Where you were like, their third best player is Kevin Willis. If their third best player was somebody else, maybe they'd be a little better. But I'm going to give credit where credit's due. So I'm going to finish it up with Kevin.
My only pushback was the won a champion. I remember that game 5 against the Nets, or game 6 against the Nets. Yeah, game 6 against the Nets, when he was inserted for like the final 30 seconds with like Steve Smith and another guy that was a veteran that was just there to win a title. And it was like, hey, Kevin Willis won a title. Good for him. He
earned it, man. Kevin Willis is good.
All 36 seconds of that game 6 that he played. But yes, in the sense of his actual accomplishments in his career, a solid pick for where we are in the draft.
I'm not sure exactly where he ranks, but that dude played until he was 44 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not bad.
Yeah, LeBron's going to beat him, but that's not bad.
Not that many people. He 9th all time in career NBA games.
Yeah,
8th all time.
No, I was a big fan of his brother. What you talking about? But we'll celebrate Kevin Willis here on this podcast. Okay,
now, Andrew, quickly. What? Now you do know that Gus Johnson, the basketball player, and Gus Johnson, the announcer, are neither the same person nor are they related to each other.
John just made that joke. Is he not? He's also not Howard Johnson.
I'm saying it a second time.
The restaurant
owner? Aware of it.
He's not Don Johnson of Miami Vice either.
He's also not Ron Johnson.
Okay.
Shitty senator.
Good.
Yeah.
Can I just hold on real quick before you make your last pick? I do think it is interesting that of the top 13 games played guys in NBA, the top 12 games played guys in NBA history, 2 of them were 11th overall picks, Reggie Miller and Kevin Willis. That's interesting.
Yeah. You can, again, the point of this exercise is you can get somebody with the 11th overall pick.
Yeah, it's going to make a difference in your franchise. Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm going to just go with guys that I'm not taking real quick. Like Cam Johnson of the Phoenix Suns this year. We saw how much of a contribution he made. Jared Jeffries, like we did see what he looked like, not in a Isaiah Thomas contract, but when he came back with the Knicks later on as a backup center, like that is a contributor. Doug McDermott, he is a contributor on a team right now. Malik Monk, we saw what he was in the right role with the Lakers. There are several other 11 picks that are out there. There's 2 players that I am back and forth between. One, I mistook him for the late great Clifford Robinson, but then I actually went and looked up Cliff Robinson's stats, and there are multiple years of averaging close to 20 a game.
He was good. He was a really good player
for the Nets, and then the Kansas City Kings, then obviously the Cavs. I've got 17 and 8 a game for his career, which is actually not terrible. And then the other guy, I actually think gets a bad rap because we remember him for his worst career moment, which happened in the 1995 NBA Finals. And that is Nick Anderson.
Oh.
The guy who, so brief history lesson for those of you that don't remember, the Orlando Magic used to have something close to a dynasty forming, or at least people thought, because the team that won the number 1 pick in the NBA draft this year won it in back-to-back years in the early 90s. The first time they won it, they took Shaquille O'Neal out of LSU. The second time they won it, they took Chris Webber out of Michigan and traded said pick to Golden State for Anthony Penny Hardaway and 3 first-round picks. Later on, I think they in a next draft they drafted Nick Anderson with the 11th pick, and then we have the cheat sheet in front of me. Yeah, Nick Anderson actually happened in 1989, and so they had him already there, and he was part of their starting 5. This team that won over 60 games and made the NBA Finals, swept Reggie Miller's, eliminated Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls, and then beat Reggie Miller's Indiana Pacers in the conference finals in 1995 in 7 games. That game 7 was a blowout. And in game 1 against Hakeem Olajuwon and the defending champion Houston Rockets, the Magic had a 3-point lead with like 15 seconds to go, and the Rockets fouled Nick Anderson. He proceeded to miss 2 free throws. He got his own rebound and got fouled again. He then proceeded to miss 2 more free throws. Rockets get the rebound. Kenny Smith gets an inbounds pass, hits a 3 to tie the game. Rockets win in overtime, go on to sweep the Magic. Shaq's off the team in 2 years, and the Magic have never been close to that close, I think, to a championship since Dwight Howard era, notwithstanding. There's actually a really good 30 for 30 on those Magic that has a segment all about Nick Anderson.
Yeah, it's good.
Because the next year, he was the last year of his contract, and they said, like, we'll extend you, but we want to like put clauses in your contract that like you got to make a certain number of free throws. We want to know that this didn't mess with you mentally. And Nick Anderson says like, no, it absolutely did. I stopped going to the rim because I was afraid of the free throw line. So it's a real shame that this did what it did to his career. I liken it a little bit to what happened to J.R. Smith in that we will not remember him for the 6th man of the year or the clutch bench playing that he had with the Cavs, or even like the high flying dunk contest stuff that he did with the Nuggets. We remember that he forgot the score after getting a key rebound in game 1 of the NBA Finals, in which LeBron was in demigod mode. So all of this to say, I remember Nick Anderson for the player that he was and the contributor to a team that was this close to a title in the 90s. And I will take him with my last pick. Shout out to Cliff Robinson, though.
Can I give a couple of shout outs?
Yeah, go ahead.
Bonzi Wells was actually, even though he maybe had the not best reputation by the end, he was a member of the Jailblazers, that there was some stuff going on there. He was a really good player. Terrell Brandon. So older Knicks fans may remember him as the salary that needed to be included in the Keith Van Horn Latrell Sprewell trade. And he hadn't played an NBA game in a year when that trade was made, and he never played another game again. He retired shortly thereafter. He was once upon a time like a 19-7 point guard, 2-time NBA All-Star, like really, really solid player. It was 6 years before the Latrell Sprewell trade. He was traded for Sean Kemp, to give you an idea of like prime Sean Kemp, like when Kemp was still good. So Terrell Brandon, really good player. Will Purdue, won championships with the Chicago Bulls. It deserves mention.
He got an interview in the Last Dance. You're right.
Yeah.
Yes, he got to be. He got more FaceTime than Luke Longley in the Last Dance. That is a thing.
Deservedly so.
Mm-hmm.
Lift Fat, even though he just went by Fat eventually. Lever, all defense guy. He was a 1-time All NBA guy, 2-time All-Star with the Denver Nuggets. Like he was again really good player with the 11th overall pick. And then last but not least, guy who spent a couple of years playing alongside his college teammate Bernard King with the Knicks, and that is Ernie Vanderway. Ernie Grunfeld, who would obviously later go on to a prominent front office position with the New York Knicks. He was also drafted 11th overall and was a pretty good player there for a little while. That's it. No more shout outs for me.
It's mercifully over, this draft.
For you.
Yeah, I know. I cannot wait to go take some NyQuil and go just pass out until Monday when I decide to edit this.
Thank you for toughing this one out. We appreciate it. Jeremy, anything from you before we get out of here?
Quick thing, John, I owe you an apology.
Ooh,
yeah.
What? I'm so excited. What?
Last episode, my brain.
Jeremy, you saw what I did, right?
I didn't.
John did it. Oh, okay,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
My brain said Keldon Johnson, and my mouth said Kendall Johnson, and then I accidentally gaslit you. So my apologies.
Yes, I may or may not have done some creative editing and rewound the tape and had. Because Jeremy was like, that's what I said, Keldon Johnson. And then I put a rewinder video effect. I recommend you guys go rewatch that.
All's fair. That's fair.
Of the pod. I had you going, Kendall Johnson. Yes.
I accept your apology. Thank you. Appreciate it. Nothing else to add. Anything else from you?
That was it.
That was good. Andrew?
Shout out to our friend of the pod that was here last week. CP the franchise and is this next step that he's taking at SiriusXM. Paved the way for the rest of us, buddy. Although I think after this episode, ESPN's off the table for us.
For me, at least.
Yeah, I was about to say. Although John
Woj loose.
I was about to say.
The only thing we lost is the ability to someday be asked to host the 10-part podcast series on Ralph Sampson's career.
Yes, or Clifford Robinson for that matter. Anyway, CP.
Beggars can't be choosers. Anyway.
CP, congratulations to you, buddy. As other members of the Knicks content community, we wish you the best and look forward to seeing what you bring to the table as you improve the lineup over at Sirius.
Well said. Congrats, CP. Congrats, Knicks Fan TV. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with this opportunity. I have no doubt that you're going to kill it. And of course, we end this episode as we do every episode, which is thanking you, our listeners, for checking out another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. We got some more good stuff coming up this week. We're going to over the next couple weeks, as we move closer to free agency and the draft and everything, we will be speaking to some folks that are in tune with some different teams who the Knicks may potentially be thinking about doing business with, to get some inside insight on both their players and what they think of the Knicks players. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back on the Cap or No Cap next weekend. And I think that's it. Hope everybody had a good weekend and enjoy your week. Peace out.